Okay, thank you. Matthew, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you, Lance? Hey, everyone.
I'm good.
Good.
Czar, good to see that you're here with us today.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Are you getting any of the storm?
No, I am not. I am enjoying vitamin D.
Oh, well, good. Good for you. Yeah, we're getting a good. We need the rain actually, so but I'm sure it's going to cause some flooding in some places.
That's okay. It'll be the opposite at some point, and then people will want the rain. So
Yes.
it'll be okay. Are you okay? Is it safe, or is it I'm not up to date with what's going on. Is there a hurricane or a tropical storm?
I think these are the remnants of the hurricane. I haven't been following it myself, but there's been more rain than I thought we were going to get.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad everyone's safe.
Yes, thank you. All right, so why don't we get started? We have a small group but austere group, and that's wonderful. Thank you very much. Auspicious group. So, who would like to be the Umze today and recite the opening prayers, please? Okay, well, I would like to do it, and I'll do it. Okay.
I will do it tomorrow. I'll go ahead and sign up in advance for tomorrow, just not for right now. I apologize, Lance.
All right, well, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, well, good. Just be on time. Okay. The altruistic, excuse me, the altruistic motivation. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. Dagla dangwa je pe dra no pa je pe geg. Par pa dang tam she ken pe bar du jo par je pa tam she ki so je pe. Manam kadam yam pe sem chen tam she de wa dang den. Dug now dang drel nor du la na me pa yang dag pa zog pe zhang zhu brin po she to pa zha. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Te she du sang ma ge gi ba du lu na gi sam ge wa la ko. Ma she ba du lu na gi sam ge wa la ko. Du de ring ne sung te ni ma sang ta sam gi bar du lu na gi sam ge wa la ko. We take refuge in the kind root and lineage lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. We take refuge in the kind root and lineage lamas. We take refuge in the deities and the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Transcend Sawadangur Parje Pe Pal Den Lama Dampa Namla Kapsu Chio Yidam Kilgor Gila Sok Namla Kapsu Chio Sangye Chom Dende Namla Kapsu Chio Dampe Cho Namla Kapsu Chio Pawo Kadro Cho Kyung Song Mei Song Yeshe Gi Cheng Dang Dempa Namla Kapsu Chio. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Shangju Ning Por Chi Ki Bar Sangye Namla Kapsu Chi Chodang Shangshu Sampa Yi Soklang Deshin Kapsu Chi Jitar Nongi Deshe Gi Shangshu Tugni Ki Padan Shangshu Sampe La Pala De Dagrim Shin E Patar De Shindro La Pandandu Shangshu Samni Ke Gishing De Shindu Ni La Pala Rempa Shindu La Pa Ji O. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Sangye Chodang Soki Chonamla Shangju Badu Dagni Kapsu Chi Dagi Jin Soki Pe Sonamgi Drola Penchir Sangye Jupasho. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Manam kadam yam pesem centam she dewadang dewe kudang dempar jurchi. Dugnal dang dunal gi gudang drel war jurchi. Dugnal me pe dewadang midra war jurchi. Nei ring jack dang ni dang drawe dang namla ne pa Georgie. Next is the 100-syllable purification mantra of Vajrasattva. We'll recite once in English and then 3 times in the Sanskrit. Om Vajrasattva Samaya. Help to protect my vow, to purify myself. May you remain firm with me. Grant me the complete satisfaction. Grow with me. Be loving towards me. Grant me the attainments to master the powers beyond body and nature. Show me all the deeds of body, speech, and mind. Make my mind heart good, virtuous, and auspicious. Revel in the bliss of the 4 joys, O Blessed One, who embodies the essence within me. Do not abandon me. Grant me the realization of the indestructible nature. Make me one with you. Thus I signify my unity with non-duality. Ah. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Tenopa Dristadredo Me Bhava Sutto Kayo Me Bhava Supo Kayo Me Bhava Anuraktu Me Bhava Sara Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sara Karma Sutsa Me Sitsan Shriya Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Saratada Gata Bajra Mame Munsa Bajri Bhava Mahasamaya Satvaha Om Bajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Bajra Sattva Tenopa Dristadredo Me Bhava Sutto Kayo Me Bhava Supo Kayo Me Bhava Anuraktu Me Bhava Sara Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sara Karma Sutsa Me Sitsan Shriya Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Saratada Gata Bajra Mame Munsa Bajri Bhava Mahasamaya Satvaha Om Bajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Bajra Sattva Tenopa Dristadredo Me Bhava Sutto Kayo Me Bhava Supo Kayo Me Bhava Anuraktu Me Bhava Sara Siddhi Me Prayatsa Sara Karma Sitsa Me Sitsan Shriya Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Saratada Gata Bajra Mame Munsa Bajri Bhava Mahasamaya Satvaha. Now the requested sutra by Sagaramati, page 12, in English only. Likewise be extinguished all enemies to my purpose. Whatever evil forces are in me, be defeated. Do this so that when I am victorious, all pure radiance melts into me, completely purified. Take all this knowledge, food, and drink peacefully, enjoy it, and be satisfied so that all obstacles may be destroyed. Be liberated from all obstacles, all general obstacles. Maras are defeated by this gesture of the Buddha. By reciting this mantra, may all the Maras be purified. As a result, may all the Maras be defeated. Thank you very much. Okay, so today we're continuing our Recitation of the King of Aspiration Prayers, the aspiration of good actions, Zangcho Munlam. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this? We started last week, and I wonder if anybody has any thoughts about this. Have you been able to take the time to recite this during the week time?
I haven't, yes.
Well, I know you've been just came back, so that's great. I know you told me you had a great trip. It was it was a learning experience.
I was answering your question. I've been reciting the prayer. Like, I apologize. That's what I meant. I'm reciting it every day now.
Oh, good. Okay. So I didn't understand exactly what you said because it kind of cut off there.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's part of my practice now. I do it in the evenings so it's part of my evening habits now. So it's been moving, touching, and I'm taking time to read each sentence and word thoughtfully and consider it.
Are you doing it out loud or do you read to yourself?
No, out loud. It's more impactful because it creates another layer of pause and think when I say it out loud because I hear the word.
Very good. Yes, thank you. That's exactly right.
Lance, which stanza are we on, please?
Well, we're going to read the whole thing through before we begin our explanations, but we're on page 3 where it says the actual aspiration, and then we come down to number 2. So number 2 is where we'll begin our explanations, but we're going to recite through the whole prayer first. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So I did not write down the order in which we recited last week, but what I would like to do now is for everybody to join in the recitation, and the simplest way to do it is to take turns with the pages. So I'm just going to say if Gary will begin on page. Did you do page 1 last time, Gary? Your microphone is muted right now.
I can't remember, but I can do page 1.
Page
1. I'll do page 1 and 2 if you wish.
No, I think you did. So you do page 2, please. Matthew, can you do page 1, please?
Sure.
Okay. So Matt's going to do that. And then page 3, Mark, will you do page 3? Do you remember if you did page 3 last time? You don't remember?
I don't remember, actually.
Okay, that's fine. Then you do page 3 today.
Okay.
Okay. And then Zara, if you will do page 4, and then continue that order until we get through the whole thing. I'm not going to read. And so you all get the maximum benefit of reading this. So is everybody clear on what we're going to do?
So I'm to do page 1?
No, you're going to do page 2. Matt's going to do
That's
page 1.
Okay.
Okay.
Matt, are you able to screen share, or is this only hard copy right now? Like, people only have the hard.
You don't have the hard copy handy?
Not right now. I wondered if you had an electronic version that you had already sent out as a PDF.
I'm looking at a hard copy, but I could look real quick. I might.
Well, let me see. It'll take me a minute to get it up here.
I might not actually. Yeah, I don't.
All right, here we are. I got it up now. I just need to screen share it. All right, y'all can see this?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so this is page 1. So I'm going to have to ask you, to please have your copies of this because you should have it. It's a matter of being prepared for for what we're doing.
Can you send this as is this as a PDF you already have on your computer? Could you send that right now or put that in the chat box?
You want me to send it in the chat box?
Yeah, just as a virtual version. Just I like to have as many options as available to pull up.
Well, I will accommodate you.
I can scan it later off of the hard copy and put it in my phone. I have all scanned versions of prayers because I travel, and I like to avoid damaging the originals when I travel.
All right, did you get it? Is it in the chat box?
I don't see it in the chat box.
Oh,
Lance, it's okay. It's
I
okay.
gotta
I
hit
mean,
this button. There it is.
Oh, there we go.
okay, got it. Perfect.
All right.
Got it. Yep.
Do I
That's
need
it. I got it.
Do I need to
Yep.
screen share it?
Nope, I got it. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you. All right, so Matt, will you begin, please?
The translator's homage.
Start with the title, please.
Oh, yes, okay. King of Aspiration Prayers, Samantabhadra's Aspiration of Good Actions, Zangsho Manlam, from could you help me with the pronunciation, Lance?
Gandavahaya,
Gandavahaya chapter of the
Avatamsaka.
Avatamsaka Sutra. Thank you. The translator's homage. Homage to Manjushri the youthful. The 7 preliminaries for purifying the mind. 1 prostration. To all the Buddhas, the lions of the human race, in all directions of the universe through past, present, and future. To every single one of you, I bow in homage. Devotion fills my body, speech, and mind. Through the power of this prayer, aspiring to good action, all the victorious ones appear, vivid here before my mind. And I multiply my body as many times as atoms in the universe, each one bowing in prostration to all the Buddhas. Offering. In every atom preside as many Buddhas as there are atoms, and around them all their bodhisattva heirs. And so I imagine them filling completely the entire space of reality, saluting them with an endless ocean of praise, with the sounds of an ocean of different melodies. I sing of the Buddha's noble qualities, and praise all those who have gone to perfect bliss. To every Buddha I make offerings, of the loveliest flowers, of beautiful garlands, of music and perfumed ointments, the best of parasols, the brightest lamps of finest incense. To every Buddha I make offerings, exquisite garments in the most fragrant scents, powdered incense, heaped as high as Mount Meru, arranged in perfect symmetry.
Then the vast and unsurpassable offerings, inspired by my devotion to all the Buddhas and moved by the power in my faith and good actions, I prostrate and offer to you, to all you victorious ones. Confession. Whatever negative acts I have committed, while driven by desire, hatred, and ignorance, with my body, my speech, and also with my mind. Before you, I confess and purify each and every one, rejoicing. With a heart full of delight, I rejoice at all the merits of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Pratyeka Buddhas, those in training, and the Arhats beyond training, and every living being throughout the entire universe, imploring the Buddhas to turn the wheel of Dharma. You who are like the beacons of light shining through the worlds, who pass through the stages of enlightenment to attain Buddhahood, freedom from all, I exhort you, all of you protectors, to turn the unsurpassable wheel of Dharma, requesting the Buddhas not to enter nirvana. Joining my palms together, I pray to you who intend to pass into nirvana, remain for eons as many as the atoms in the world, and bring well-being and happiness to all beings. Dedication. What little virtue I have gathered through my homage, through offering, confession, and rejoicing, through exhortation and prayer, all of it I dedicate to the enlightenment of all beings.
The actual aspiration. Aspirations for purity and attitude. Let offerings be made to Buddhas of the past and all who now dwell throughout the 10 directions of this universe. Let all who are yet to come swiftly fulfill their wishes and attain the stages of enlightenment and Buddhahood. Let as many worlds as there are in all the 10 directions transform into realms that are vast and utterly pure, filled with Buddhas who have sat before the mighty Bodhi tree, around them all their bodhisattva sons and daughters. Let as many sentient beings as there are in all the 10 directions live always and forever in happiness and health. Let all beings meet the Dharma that befits them the best. And so may all they hope to be fulfilled. Aspirations never to forget the Bodhisattva. As I practice the training and enlightenment, may I recall all my previous births, and in successive lives through death and rebirth, may I always renounce the worldly life. Training in the footsteps of all the victorious Buddhas, may I bring good actions to perfection, and my moral conduct be taintless and pure, never lapsing and always free from fault. In the language of the gods, Nagas, and Yaksas, in the language of demons and of the humans too, in however many kinds of speech there may be, I shall proclaim the Dharma in the language of all. Taming my mind and striving in the paramitas, I will never forget the bodhicitta. May all my harmful actions and the obscurations they changed be completely purified, every single one.
Aspirations to be free from defilements. May I be freed from karma, harmful emotions, and the work of negativity, and act for all beings in the world, just like the lotus flower to which mud and water cannot cling, or sun and moon that course unhindering through the sky. Aspiration to lead beings to happiness. Throughout the reach and range of the entire universe, I shall pacify completely the suffering of all lower realms. I shall lead all beings to happiness and work for the ultimate benefit of each and every one. Aspiration to wear the armor of dedication. I shall bring enlightened action to perfection, serve beings as to suit their needs, teach them to accomplish good actions, and to continue this throughout all eons to come. Aspiration to accompany other bodhisattvas. May I always meet and be accompanied by those whose actions accord with mine and embody speech and mind as well. May our actions and aspirations always be one. Matt, is this where you take over on page 4?
You'll go through 9.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Aspiration to have virtuous teachers and to please them. May I always meet spiritual friends who long to be of true help to me and who teach me the good actions. Never will I disappoint them. Aspiration to see the Buddhas and serve them in person. May I always behold the Buddhas here before my eyes and around them all their bodhisattva sons and daughters. Without ever tiring throughout this eons to come, may the offerings I make them be endless and vast. Aspiration to keep the Dharma thriving. May I maintain the sacred teachings of the Buddhas and cause enlightened action to appear. May I train to perfection in good actions and practice these in every age to come.
Aspiration to acquire inexhaustible treasure. As I wander through all stages of samsaric existence, may I gather inexhaustible merit and wisdom, and so become an inexhaustible treasury of noble qualities, of skills and discernment, samadhi and liberation. Aspiration to the different methods for entering into the good actions, seeing the Buddhas in their pure realms. In a single atom, may I see as many pure realms as atoms in the universe, and in each realm, Buddhas beyond all imagining, encircled by all their bodhisattva heirs. Along with them, may I perform the actions of enlightenment. And so, in each direction, everywhere, even on the tip of a hair, may I see an ocean of Buddhas, all to come in past, present, and future, in an ocean of pure realms. And throughout an ocean of eons, may I enter into enlightened action in each and every one. Listening to the speech of the Buddhas, each single word of a Buddha's speech, that voice with its ocean of qualities, bears all the purity of the speech of all the Buddhas, sounds that harmonize with the minds of all living beings. May I always be engaged with the speech of the Buddhas, hearing the turning of the wheels of Dharma. With all the power of my mind, may I hear and realize the inexhaustible melody of the teachings spoken by all the Buddhas of past, present, and future as they turn the wheels of Dharma, entering into all the eons. Just as the wisdom of the Buddhas penetrates all future eons, so may I too know them instantly, and in each fraction of an instant may I know all that will ever be in past, present, and future.
Seeing all the Buddhas in one instant, in an instant, may I behold all those who are the lions of the human race, the Buddhas of past, present, and future, entering the sphere of activity of the Buddhas. May I always be engaged in the Buddha's way of life and action, through the power of liberation, where all is realized as like an illusion. On a single atom, may I actually bring about the entire array of pure realms of past, present, and future, and then enter into those pure Buddha realms in each atom and in each and every direction. When those who illuminate the world still to come gradually attain Buddhahood, turn the wheel of Dharma, and demonstrate the final profound peace of nirvana, may I always be in their presence. Aspiration to the power of enlightenment through the 9 powers, through the power of swift miracles, the power of the vehicle like a doorway, the power of conduct that possesses all virtuous qualities, the power of loving kindness, all pervasive, the power of merit that is totally virtuous, the power of wisdom, free from attachment, and the power of knowledge, skillful means, and samadhi. May I perfectly accomplish the power of enlightenment. Aspiration to the antidotes to pacify the obscurations. May I purify the power of karma, destroy the power of harmful emotions, render negativity utterly powerless,
Perfect.
protect the power of good actions.
Aspirations to enlightened activities. I shall purify oceans of realms, liberate oceans of sentient beings, understand oceans of Dharma, realize oceans of wisdom, perfect oceans of action, fulfill oceans of aspirations, serve oceans of Buddhahood, and perform these without ever growing weary through oceans of eons. Aspirations for training, to emulate the Buddhas. All the Buddhas throughout the whole of time attained enlightenment through good actions, and their prayers and aspirations for enlightened actions. May I fulfill them completely. To emulate the Bodhisattvas, Samantabhadras, the eldest of the sons of all the Buddhas, is called the Samantabhadra. all good, so that I may act with a skill like his. I dedicate fully all these merits to purify my body, my speech, and my mind as well, to purify my actions and all the realms. May I be the equal of Samantabhadra in his skill and good education or good dedication, Manjushri. In order to perform the full virtue of good actions, I shall act according to Manjushri's prayers and aspirations, and without ever growing weary in all the eons to come, I shall perfectly fulfill every one of his aims.
Including aspiration. Let my bodhicitta acts be beyond measure. Let my enlightened qualities be measureless too. Keeping to this immeasurable activity, may I accomplish all the miraculous powers of enlightenment. Extent of the aspirations. Sentient beings are as limitless as the boundless expanse of space. So shall my prayers of aspiration for them be as limitless as their karma and harmful emotions. The benefits of making aspirations. The benefits of making aspirations in general. Whoever hears this King of Dedication prayers and yearns for supreme enlightenment, who once even arouses faith, will gain true merit greater still. Then by offering the victorious Buddhas, infinite pure realms in every direction, all ornamented with jewels, or offering them all the highest joys of gods and humans, for as many eons as there are atoms in those realms. The 13 benefits in detail. Whosoever truly makes this aspiration to good actions will never again be reborn in lower realms. They will be free from harmful companions and soon behold the Buddha of boundless light. They will acquire all kinds of benefits and live in happiness. Even in this present life, all will go well, and before long, they will become just like Samantabhadra. All negative acts, even the 5 immediate retribution, whatever they've committed in the grip of ignorance, will soon be completely purified if they recite the aspiration of good actions. They will possess perfect wisdom, beauty, and excellent signs, be born in a good family, and with radiant appearance, demons and heretics will never harm them.
The next person speaks.
Okay. You want me to finish all that? You want me to finish the sentence?
Sure,
all
go
three
ahead.
were, yeah. And all 3 worlds will honor them with offerings.
They will quickly go beneath the Bodhi tree, and there they will sit to benefit all sentient beings, then awaken into enlightenment, turn the wheel of Dharma, and tame Mara with all his hordes. Benefits in brief. The full result of keeping, teaching, or reading this prayer of aspiration of good actions is known to the Buddhas alone. Have no doubt, supreme enlightenment will be yours. Dedication of the merits to this meritorious aspiration. Dedication that follows the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Bodhisattva Manjushri attained omniscience, and Samantabhadra too, all these merits now I dedicate, to train and follow in their footsteps. Dedication that follows the Buddhas. As all the victorious Buddhas of past, present, and future praise dedication as supreme, so now I dedicate all these roots of virtue for all beings to perfect good actions. Dedication towards actualizing the result. When it is time for me to die, let all that obscures me fade away, so I look at Amitabha there in person, and go at once to this pure land of Sukhavati. In that pure land, may I actualize every single one of all these aspirations. May I fulfill them, each and every one, and bring help to beings for as long as the universe remains.
Dedication towards receiving a prophecy from the Buddhas. Born there, in a beautiful lotus flower in the excellent and joyous Buddha realm, may the Buddha Amitabha himself grant me the prophecy foretelling my enlightenment. Dedication towards serving others. Having received the prophecy there with my billions of emanations sent out through the power of my mind, may I bring enormous benefit to sentient beings in all the 10 directions. Conclusion. Through whatever small virtues I have gained by reciting this aspiration of good actions, May the virtuous wishes of all beings, prayers, and aspirations all be instantly accomplished. Through the true and boundless merit attained by dedicating this aspiration to good actions, may all those now drowning in the ocean of suffering reach the supreme realm of Amitabha. May this King of Aspiration Prayers bring about the supreme aim and benefit of all sentient beings. May they perfect what is described in this holy prayer uttered by Samattabhadra. May the lower realms be entirely empty. End of prayer. Words of truth to accomplish aspirations. By the blessings of the Buddhas who have attained the three kayas and the unchanging truth of reality, as well as the unwavering aspirations of the Sangha, may all the aspirations and dedication prayers be fulfilled.
Then, I'm on the wrong page, Lance, help me out.
That was the last page.
Oh, thank you. I got lost here.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all very much for reciting that. And so does anybody have any questions or comments about reading the entirety of this or any part of it?
Do you do the closing prayers like Om Ahang, to seal the practice?
Sure.
Okay.
You should certainly do something to seal the practice. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we left off at the end of the actual aspiration part 1. So we begin with number 2. I'm on page 3 in the booklet that I have here that I think you all have. Part 2 says, aspiration never to forget the bodhicitta. As I practice the training for enlightenment, may I recall my previous births, and in successive lives, through death and rebirth, may I always renounce the worldly life. So, to have the experience of recalling your literal past lives is very, very, very subtle. And so I haven't had that kind of an experience, I don't think. I feel like I have a certain propensity, I have a certain feeling for a past life, whether it was an animal or what kind of a being it was, or maybe how long ago it was, and so on. Just by observing, the certain propensities that I have in my life, I say, well, there must be an association with past lives. But deeper than that is the transpersonal experience of looking back and thinking about all the human beings that are now, and that we have empathetic joy with all of those beings. And likewise, we have empathetic joy with all the beings that came before us. So we can think about, if we want to think about what it was to be a woman in India in 1850, living in the desert, the Indian desert someplace, I could transport myself with the best of my knowledge of what it's like to live there, and to contemplate what it must have been like to be a woman in that existence, and what kind of a family I would have had, what my role would have been, and so on like that. And through that kind of exercise and doing that over and over again for all the different possibilities or so on, you begin to have these transpersonal experiences with all human beings in past lives. But you also can manage that with animals, thinking about animals and different places that they may have lived and what it was like for them to live, and so on. And insects and so on like that, to be able to think of all sentient beings through past lives, through our imagination. And that's a valid experience. We have dreams and so on, and our dreams are valid experiences, although they are temporary, and we can see that they're temporary. So these lives are temporary. Our life now is temporary. So our dreams can be a teacher for us to be able to apply to this life and to future lives and so on, because the future hasn't come yet, but yet we can imagine what a future life might be or what we would like it to be. So we have to use our meditation time, our contemplation time, to be able to develop those imaginations. So again, it says, I practice the training for enlightenment. May I recall my previous birth. So the enlightenment is awakened. Enlightenment is another word for awakened. And being awakened means that you're awakened to all these different possibilities in phenomenal nature. So all these different myriad ways in which life goes on, is part of enlightenment, is part of being awakened. But at the same time, the enlightenment is also abiding within the Dharmakaya, the absolute wisdom, the absolute body of the Buddha, the mind of the Buddha, the speech of the Buddha, that is transcendent of our human nature. So as I practice the training for this enlightenment, for this awakening, may I recall my previous lives. So we're going through all this stuff to be able to exhaust them, really. It says, and in successive lives, through death and rebirth, may I always renounce the worldly life. So in the past, we can't change the past, but we can change the present, what we are doing now. And through that, we can affect what may happen in the future. But if we renounce this worldly life, if we look at this worldly life as saying this is a temporary worldly life of samsara, the ocean of suffering, confusion, etc., all these things, and say, this is wonderful. There's many blessings to be here, to be a human being, to be able to recognize this. But at the same time, I realize that this has to be transcended to be enlightened, to become enlightened, to be able to abide in the enlightenment. So we look at this life as a temporary learning experience for ourselves. So may I always renounce this worldly life, to not become attached to this worldly life, all the pleasures of this worldly life, or all the neuroses of this worldly life, all the things that we have identity with that makes us feel, oh, I'm unique, I'm special, to be able to give all that up and be able to say, I renounce all of that through the practices of transcendence, of practicing the training for enlightenment, is how I give them up, by practicing that. So the next verse says, training in the footsteps of all the victorious Buddhas, may I bring good action to perfection, and my moral conduct be taintless and pure, never lapsing, and always free from fault. So what we've been learning about with the deity yoga is the victorious Buddhas, what it is that they have done, to look at Buddha Shakyamuni to see what he has done, and the great masters that have come after Buddha Shakyamuni, Nagarjuna, Asanga, Maitreya, there was a being named Maitreya, but I'm thinking of Milarepa and Marpa, through these great masters who became Buddhas, who became Buddhas in their lifetime and so on, that we're training in their footsteps of what it was for them to become Buddha, so that we can apply those things that we need within our lives to be able to do that. So in other words, we shouldn't be very myopic. We should open ourselves up to learn about our other brothers and sisters of the past and the present, to understand what they have gone through too, because it may help us. Those in this life, we may help them, they may help us. So we need to open ourselves up to that. And then, so may I bring the good actions to perfection, the good actions of virtue, the good actions of contemplation, of meditation, of developing all these skills that we've been talking about so much. May my moral conduct be taintless and pure. So the morality in which I use as a means of guiding my life, may that always be taintless and pure. May our intentions always be pure. When we make mistakes, may we confess our mistakes, and may we purify those mistakes, as we've talked about in the practices of Vajrasattva and the confession, purification practice of Vajrasattva. And then never lapsing and free from fault. So the goal would be for it to be perfect, for it to not lapse and so on. But when it does, we forgive ourselves and we continue, and we kind of go back and recommit ourselves to the practice of the purification and so on. But the goal is to not have the relapse, to maintain that Buddha nature, to be able to be in that state of mind all the time. And that means changing. When we realize, oh, I've got this choice, I've got that choice. This choice is suffering. I can justify this suffering all day long. I can find all reasons why I am suffering. But then there comes a point when you say, you know what, that hasn't done me any good so far. I'm going to shut that down, and I'm going to look at the points of what it is to be happiness, to have wisdom, to have the ability, skillful means to be able to help others, and make that choice and abide in that choice. So never lapsing and always free from fault. So that's what that would mean. To make the choice to be as a Buddha. And this is why we do the Buddha deity yoga practices, and why we read about the great masters who have attained Buddhahood in their lifetime, to give us the understanding of what they went through, their challenges, how they overcame their challenges, and so that we can learn to apply that in our lives and develop our own confidence to be able to do that in our own way. The next verse says, in the language of the gods, nagas, and yaksas, in the language of demons and of humans too, and however many kinds of speech there may be, I shall proclaim the Dharma and the language of all. So the Dharma, of course, is the teaching of the Buddha, the teaching of Shakyamuni Buddha, the pathway that leads to enlightenment, that leads to freedom, that leads to being able to cut oneself away, cut the roots of all the suffering and so on, and just allow the true nature that we have within ourselves to open and to blossom, that nothing is blocking it. We're cutting the roots of the weeds of all these consuming, holding back vines and leaves and so on that are choking our vitality of our awakeness away. So if we cut all these roots away, you see, then naturally our wisdom comes up, our true nature comes up. So in order to do that, we're recognizing the language of the gods, nagas, and yaksas. So the gods are those beings that are within ourselves and around us. The gods are human gods, and the nagas are human nagas, and the yaksas are human yaksas. The gods are very pure beings who have attained a great deal of accomplishment and so on, are still functioning as human beings. Like gods, you know, some people might consider them to be gods in this lifetime. And so like them, the nagas would be subterranean beings who are like reptiles and so on, and who are trying to overcome their propensities and negativities and so on that keeps them as subterranean beings. But they have this they have this spirit within them that says, I can move forward, I can move forward, I can break through the ground, I can come out, and I can be free. So the language of the gods, the language of the Nagas, the language of the Yaksas are evil beings who have done negative things and who are in this life are doing negative things, but yet they're realizing that they have some goodness within themselves, and they're trying to remove whatever causes of those negativities are and shine forth. So how do we reach them? What words do we use to reach them? What heart transmission do we use to reach them? So they want to communicate. They want to learn this. So in the language of the gods, Nagas, and Yaksas, whatever language these beings have, we're going to speak to them in a language that comes from our heart, not necessarily our brain, our voice box, that we understand living in this land and so on, but whatever it is through them. And the commonality is our heart center, is the heart transmissions that we have. So when we recite these prayers, in particular this prayer, that we're doing it from our heart, not from our brain, not from our speech. We use our brain and our speech to develop that heart mind, to stabilize that heart mind, to get us through the different things and so on, to analyze this, and that we become the embodiment of it, and that our heart mind is what is transmitting this to other beings. As we recite this, they don't hear it. It's like talking to your dog or your cat. All they're hearing is wah, 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 wah. They might respond to your tone of voice, but they're not understanding your language and so on, no more than you're understanding their language of barking and meowing and doing the things that they do. So maybe that's an oversimplification, but I think you can understand my point in saying this. So then the next line says, and the language of demons and of humans too. So we're looking at this as, and all beings, the demons, the human aspects, the maras that are holding us back, our inner demons, our demons within ourselves that are holding us back, our proclivities for negativity and for confusion and for suffering. And however many kinds of speech there may be, I shall proclaim the Dharma in the language of all. So this truth body of the Dharma, this reality, this understanding of phenomenal nature in the light of absolute nature. So it comes in steps. We may have a sensibility, we have a feeling, we have a perception of that absolute nature. We've experienced it many times in this lifetime. We've experienced it many lifetimes in prior lifetimes. When we go to sleep, we go into that bardo of reality. We go into, it may be temporary, but we enter into that bardo of reality where there's our senses are shut down. And we have these experiences. When we have died many times, we go into the bardo of reality, to the intermediate state of reality. Where are we before we are born? We are coming back out of that bardo of reality. We haven't been able to sustain that bardo of reality, or to whatever degree we've been able to sustain that bardo of reality, we bring into this life, and we can continue on in this life to be able to purify that further for the benefit of other human beings. That we make a decision that, I have learned many things, I have practiced many things, I've been able to accomplish many things, but I know that I still have work to do in order to purify further, and I will do that through my engagement with other suffering human beings and help them. And through that, it's like polishing a stone. I will polish my own self. I will polish my own knowledge, my own abilities, and so on. And I'm doing it gratefully. I'm doing it lovingly in order to be able to help other beings. So I shall proclaim the Dharma in the language of all through my heart transmission. What comes, how I speak with heart thoughts or mind thoughts, heart-mind thoughts. You can think of it like that, heart-mind thoughts. These are brain thoughts. Brain thoughts are all full of emotions and confusions and so on. These heart thoughts are pure love, bodhicitta. So the next stanza says, taming my mind and striving in the paramitas, I will never forget the bodhicitta. May all my harmful actions and the obscurations they cause be completely purified, every single one. So taming my mind, taming my intellectual mind, being able to quiet it down so that it becomes in union with my spiritual mind, with my big mind, taming my mind, striving in the paramitas. The paramitas are the perfections. So we've talked about the 6 perfections, the 3 mind trainings, the mind training of the body, the mind training of the speech, and the mind training of the mind itself. So we've talked about those, and we're engaging in these teachings. I will never forget the bodhicitta, that the bodhicitta should be at the top of our consciousness all the time. Everything that we should be doing should be with the motivation of bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. We should be able to know it forwards, know it backwards, know it in between, how it works and so on, being able to pull it apart, putting it back together again. All these things begins with the work on the cushion, the work in our meditations, the work in our practices, our contemplations, and so on. And then how we take it with us when we get up off the cushion and how we engage with other beings and so on. That everything that we do be with bodhicitta. And this is the hallmark of the enlightened ones. The bodhisattvas and the Buddhas and so on, all the enlightened ones, everything they do is bodhicitta. So this is what we are training ourselves to do. We have to train ourselves to do it. And we'll falter, we'll have difficulties and so on. And we need to work through those. We have all the techniques, we have all the things here in the Dharma teachings to help us to recognize what the causes of our difficulties are and what the causes of our goodness is. And to be able to use the goodness to be able to neutralize the negativities and so on and see how they all interact with each other. And then we're able to maintain this samadhi, this balance, this peace of mind that we carry with us all the time. That at the heart of it is the holy enlightened mind, the bodhicitta. I will never forget this bodhicitta. May all my harmful actions and the obscurations they cause, may I recognize the causes that my negativities cause for myself and for other beings. When I say things to other beings, and it may seem innocent to us, but it may bring they may make them cry, may make them upset, might make them raise their voice or something like that. It brings a reaction to them. Sometimes we do these things out of some kind of a vindictiveness or something like that. We want them to suffer. Oh, you made me suffer, I'm going to make you suffer. To be able to purify that and say, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. You might have done something to cause me to suffer, but you know what? I'm transcendent of that. I'm not going to suffer. I'm going to be able to absorb that. And I'm not going to try and teach you a lesson in the process and be able to punish you or something like that. I'm going to continue to treat you with loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, no matter what you did, what you thought you were doing, what you didn't know you were doing towards me or towards other beings. So may my harmful actions and the obscurations they cause be completely purified, every single one. So then we go to the third point of the aspiration never to forget the bodhicitta. So just let me remind you, we're putting this into perspective. This is the King of Aspiration Prayers. So this is the actual aspiration, to be a bodhisattva, to be on this path. And here it's pointing out to us the steps in order to do this. And it says number one was the aspiration for the purity of attitude. That was number one, the purity of attitude. I'm going to do this. I want to do this. I want to be a bodhisattva. Then it says number two is the aspiration never to forget the bodhicitta. We have the attitude. Now it says the number one thing after that is bodhicitta. So it's telling us what the priority of these things are. Very clear. So now it says, number three, the aspiration to be free from defilements. Now we have these things, we've done these things, we have these emotions, we have these afflictive emotions, and we have these defilements now that are like stains that we need to be able to liberate ourselves from. The aspiration to be free from defilements. How do we do this? Here it's being explained to us. It says, may I be freed from karma, harmful emotions, and the work of negativity, and act for all beings in the world, just like the lotus flower to which mud and water cannot cling, or sun and moon that course unhindered through the sky. It's very simple. We just got to get back to the basic elements of who we are, and I'm just going to abide in that. I'm not going to be stained. I'm not going to, if the mud comes, it's not going to stain who I am. If I'm a lotus flower in a pond of slow moving water, and the rains come and muddy water is flowing into the pond, and so when it comes and stains me, it's only temporary. But the essence of who I am as a lotus flower remains pure. And eventually those defilements, that muddiness, will wash away. So may I be freed from karma, harmful emotions, and the work of negativity. So this freed from karma. The karma is the action, right? The actions that we have taken. And there were causes, there was the actions, and then there were results. There's this karma. And if we have these propensities, we have this karma, we have the results of that karma that are kind of leading us through our life like a ring through our nose and so on, for us to be able to shut down our attachment or our aversion to that karma by doing good deeds, by recognizing what the causes were, and by cutting ourselves off from redoing those karmas, by allowing ourselves to recognize who we are, to free ourselves from it, to see the karma and be able to, like we said before, we've got this bag of karmic results that we're carrying around with us, and we're taking out each one of those karmas one by one, and we are neutralizing them. That we're becoming free from those karmas. The harmful emotions that lead to the causes of those karmas, of those actions, and the work of the negativity of the things that we do and so on, that are creating the results of that karma. That the work of the negativity would be the actions, the karma itself. And act for beings in the world, that we're not doing this selfishly. One of the tests that we need to apply to our thoughts, our actions, the results that we have is, how selfish was I in this process? Was this just for me? What result was I seeking? Was it something just for me? Or was it for the benefit of other beings? So may I act for the benefit of beings in the world? May I be doing for them? May whatever deeds I do, if I'm not doing it perfectly, recognizing that I'm not doing it perfectly, and then going back and finding where the mistakes were and correcting those mistakes for the benefit of other beings becomes what we need to do. Sometimes it's easier to do it for other beings than it is to see that we're doing it to ourselves, for ourselves. So always being mindful of that our dedication, that whatever we do is for the benefit of the enlightenment of other sentient beings. So it says, just like the lotus flower, to which mud and water cannot cling, or the sun and moon that course unhindered through the sky. So like I said, the lotus flower not being stained, and the sun and moon, can we stop the sun and moon from spinning around the planets, or however they're moving? The moon is going around the earth. We're going around the sun. The sun has a place in this galaxy, but it seems to be completely stable and motionless. But there might be some kind of motion to it that the scientists might be able to tell us. But can we stop it from its burning? Can we stop it from producing its heat and its light and so on? So the sun and moon that course unhindered through the sky, that whatever they're doing, whatever their mission is, they are a heavenly body that has got this responsibility, has this job, we could say. Of course, this is completely figurative, that they have this job to be able to present these two lights for beings on this planet. Can we stop that? Can we hinder that in any way? Of course not. So this has to be our determination to free ourselves from our defilements. And number 4 is the aspiration to lead beings to happiness. So this aspiration to lead beings is a great responsibility that we take and becomes our work. So it says, throughout the reach and range of the entire universe, I shall pacify completely the suffering of all the lower realms. I shall lead all beings to happiness and work for the ultimate benefit of each and every one. So throughout the reach and range of the entire universe, so we don't know how big it is, the scientists are working to be able to do that, but always remember, they're looking at it through this myopic telescope, from this point of view, from this degree of vision or whatever. If we could move 90 degrees all the way around, if we could say that the universe is like a big sphere and we could move around and look at it from another angle, it may appear to be completely different to us. So throughout this reach and range of the universe, whatever it is, I shall pacify completely the suffering of the lower realms. So the lower realms are the animal realm, the hungry ghost realm, the hell realms, those realms of being a human being. And may I help them in whatever way that they are manifest in this world. May I completely pacify their suffering of all these beings. Not so much, there's not a lot that we can do for them, except that which we can do for ourselves, that if we show them that we have been able to overcome our demons, through that we help other beings. If we don't do that, it's like saying, well, I'm not perfect, but you follow this and you'll reach the perfection. Maybe you'll reach it before I reach it. But instead, we need to be able to reach that perfection ourselves. And then we're not talking to them, but through our heart. And if our heart is unencumbered, is pure, and is unencumbered by our defilements, then that becomes the transmission, that becomes the language that we are talking to these other beings. They're seeing us through our actions. They're seeing us through our vibration. They're seeing the purity of ourselves. I shall pacify completely the suffering of all the lower realms. Within myself, I shall lead all beings to happiness through this process, like the sun radiating its light and heat for the benefit of all beings with no expectation of anything returning to itself, and work for the ultimate benefit of each and every one. And may I continue to, whatever I do, that I'm feeding the fire of like the sun in there. I'm feeding my bodhicitta. I'm feeding my good deeds, to continue to do that through my practices, through my studies, through my meditations, my contemplations, etc., that I continue to work for the ultimate benefit of each and every one. We're not going to be able to go around and tap people on the shoulder or shake them and say, why are you doing these things, and so on. We're not going to be able to feed all the hungry people. We're not going to be able to change the minds of all the criminals and so on. We can't do that. But what we can do is show them the purity that we have attained in our overcoming our defilements, our Maras, our demons within ourselves. That becomes the inspiration for others to be able to take care of their own problems. We can certainly help people to make them comfortable, but we need to remember that it's only temporary. That what we're doing for them is only temporary, and it's up for them to change their lives. So it's a noble thing to help them, but we cannot become attached to it, nor can we have aversion to it. So we have to do it as willingly, and realize that the true teaching comes from the heart center. And number 5 is the aspiration to wear the armor of dedication. This is very profound. This is the culmination, really, of the Mahamudra, the fivefold path of Mahamudra, this dedication. It says here, I shall bring enlightened action to perfection, serve beings as to suit their needs, teach them to accomplish good actions, and to continue this throughout all the eons to come. So this is my armor, is my dedication that for other beings, the armor that I put on that protects me from further defilement, from further contamination, from further corruption. This armor of doing things with good intention, good motivation for the benefit of others. This becomes armor to me, for ourselves. I shall bring enlightened action to perfection, whatever that action is. You know, you do something for this person, it's a combination of these things. But this person over here, there's another combination of things that you do for them. And then there's another person over here, there's a different combination of things that you do for them. That you are developing the wisdom to be able to understand, to be able to recognize what all those differences are, and be able to create the right combination of things for each and every person that you engage with. To serve beings to suit their needs, what it is that they need. And sometimes it's to really help them. Sometimes you have to pacify their suffering. Sometimes we have to offer them something to eat, and so that they can have a few hours where they can be at peace and be able to recognize your teaching, what it is that you present to them. Maybe it's just you're sitting with them. Maybe it's just you're talking with them. Maybe it's something as simple as that. Maybe it's something much more involved or something. But to be able to recognize what each person needs and so on. And this is a trial and error kind of an experience. It's not one size fits all. We have to work at this and develop our intuition, how to do this, develop our logic as to how to develop our intuition. They go hand in hand. To teach them to accomplish good actions. We're learning good actions here. This prayer is teaching us good actions. Now we need to be able to present that to other beings. How do we do that? How do we do that to the members in our family? How do we do that with our friends? How do we do that with strangers? How do we do that for people that are halfway around the world? How do we do that? You know, how do we send out that heart message, that language that knows no boundaries, that knows no limitations, that is a vibration that goes out to all beings, regardless of where they are or who they are. To teach them to accomplish good actions, and to continue this throughout the eons to come. So we don't look at this life as being our only life. If we attach to this only life, only leads us to suffering, suffering, suffering. But we open ourselves up to the point that we have had prior lives, we have this life, and that there are future lives to come. It's like taking a huge burden off of our shoulders. That we've got to do everything in this life. This is the only life I have. This is the only life that I can do these things. When we see that this is just a life and the means of a continuum of lives, of continuum of work that we need to do, it becomes very liberating for this life right here. We can become happier. We can become freer. We know that the time is not an issue for us. We create that time issue. And if we create that, it creates pressure and it's unnecessary. We don't need to do that. So we continue our good work throughout the eons to come. It doesn't matter that we have countless lifetimes or we have 2 lifetimes or 3 lifetimes, whatever. You know, how many lifetimes did it take to get here? Whatever. We don't know. You know, but we're thankful, we're grateful that we're here, we're bringing together all this understanding, and all this understanding, it all comes together in the heart center. What grows? This is what grows. This is what opens up. So it seems to like it expands, to seem like it grows, like it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, more expansive, and so on. The head, our brain, is working to do this, but the brain kind of impedes this growing. This brain can attach to this heart going up, and then our arrogance begins to develop. So the brain is always trying to qualify and quantify. This is just trying to be. It's just trying to be free. So being in that samadhi, the samadhi is that freedom. Samadhi means the revealed equality of the nature of all phenomena. The revealed equality of the nature of all phenomena. That all this phenomena, with all its myriad ways in which it presents itself, appears and so on, is all the same. All the negativity, all the positivity, all the duality, all these myriad ways in which it all moves and everything, it's all the same. It's all just a display of the absolute reality, of the absolute truth. So when we realize that, when we realize when we're able to maintain the samadhi, means that we're able to maintain that peace of mind of the absolute nature. That all these things are possible, but I'm not attached to them. I have no aversion to them. Okay, so I'm going to continue with one more or so. So number 6 is the aspiration to accompany other bodhisattvas. May I always meet and be accompanied by those whose actions accord with mine, and in body, speech, and mind as well. May our actions and aspirations always be one. So this is recognizing our family. This is recognizing the family of the Mahayana. Remember when we talked at the very beginning in the Jewel Ornament Liberation, and we talked about the 5 families of the Buddha. Remember the disconnected family, the dubious family, the hearer family, and the bodhisattva family. And so the bodhisattva family here is what we are aspiring to, what we're trying to do. And we have these brothers and sisters who are on the same path and so on. So we're trying to meet them, to help them, to support them, and to have them help and support us, whose actions accord with mine. It's important for us to be able to do this, to find the fellowship. You know, many people, when I meet them, one of the most important things they're looking for is the fellowship and being able to learn what it is to be a human being, to learn spirituality, to not do this by themselves. Maybe they've read several books or something, but now they need to have the fellowship. They need to know that other people are experiencing the same things. So this is our spiritual family. You know, it can include our blood family, but not necessarily. And sometimes it's our blood family that is causing us, or it becomes a cause for us to have so much bad karma, you know, that we're doing bad things because of our attachments and aversions towards our families, you know, but we have our spiritual families that everybody's intention is for goodness, is for purity, is for understanding, is for enlightenment, awakening, all these things. May I always meet and be accompanied by those whose actions accord with mine. So it's not just what they say, but it's what they're actually doing, what they're doing, what their karma is in their body, speech, and mind as well. So with their physical body, their intellectual body, and their spiritual body. May our actions and aspirations always be one, that we are seeing that we're all one, but may we see that we are coalescing. We are coalescing like the elements that are within the sun. You know, what is the sun? Is this big, I'm not sure if it's a fusion ball or a fission ball, but it's got these basic elements in there of what, hydrogen and nitrogen or whatever. I don't know what it is, but I know that there's this chemical reaction that is going on all the time. So we become like the elements of that reaction. That we are in the midst of all this confusion that is here, we become the coalescence of this purity, of this good nature, like the sun, to be able to radiate this wisdom and skillful means of bodhicitta. So this is the accompaniment of all of the other bodhisattvas. So as we go through this life, and we're meeting people like this, like the people that we can see each other on the screen right now, that we're doing that. If we were here in person, it would be even more, you could feel it more, the presence of that and so on. But as we expand that and we find that there's other people that we don't see that are on this planet, that are all around us, that are practicing these things and learning these things, and we become all part of that, all this is coalescing, that there is this core of that. And believe it or not, there is this, I've talked to you before about this white hole in time that Peter Russell wrote about, that there will be a coalescence when all this will come to a critical mass, to a point where all of a sudden it'll become, the power of it will become very, very recognizable. You'll be able to see this happening. We saw things like this happening last time was during the period of the 1960s, the 1950s, the 1960s, and into the 1970s. There was this period of great awakening, of enlightenment of many people. Lots of things were happening at different levels in different cultures. There also was a lot of negativity happening because these things happen in a dualistic nature, because that's who we are. But there was this coalescence of stuff that was happening and so on. And so the prediction is that there is this 100-year cycle or so where this repeats itself, this comes to this, and then there's like this explosion, and then it kind of diffuses only to come back together again in another 100 years. So what we're experiencing now is that coalescence of the coming back, this power coming back together again. That's what we're seeing. That's what we're part of. So in 2050, 2060, 2070, it will come together in this way. But again, there's going to be this great negativity that's going to happen. And that's part of the nature of this world. So we have to be prepared for that and prepare our brothers and sisters, prepare our children for this and so on. So then likewise, as we leave this world, when we die, and we give up our physical body and our intellectual body, and our spiritual body is released, then that energy, whatever that spiritual body is, what does it coalesce with? It coalesces with the other Buddhas, the other spiritual bodies, and so on, coming together. So we're preparing ourselves for that, to be able to recognize that, to recognize it in a way that we're not recognizing it with our brain, with our eyes, with our senses. It's recognized with our heart center, with our spirituality that is invisible. It has no sensation to it. So we'll come back to that part of the discussion later. So let's now take a break. If anybody has a question, we can answer that real quick, or I can stay online. We'll come back at the top of the hour, so whatever time. Right now it's almost 20 minutes to 11, so we'll come back at 12 o'clock, or 12 o'clock. No, 11 o'clock, excuse me. We'll come back at 11 o'clock Eastern time, so wherever time zone you're in, you'll have to do the math. So, okay. Om Ahong, Om Ahong, Om Ahong. Thank you all very much. If you have a question, I'll stay online for a few minutes.
Thank you, Lance.
You're welcome, Zara. Thank you very much. Okay. See you in a little while.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So we're finished with the explanation so far of the King of Aspiration prayers. We're going to do a practice. Before we do that, though, does anybody have any comments, questions about what we just talked about with the aspirations of the King of Aspiration prayers?
I had some thoughts and was interested in hearing some people's opinion about something, but I don't know if it'd be better to hold off so we have time to do the practice, or if this.
Well, you can take a couple minutes. Go ahead.
I was wondering what people's experience was with the idea of attachment to this life that we were discussing, and we're post like on for the last few weeks reciting as well. I've been able to be looking at and reciting the 37 practices of bodhisattvas, and on there as well, when they both created with difficulty will be left behind consciousness, the guest will leave the guest house of the body, to let go of this life is the practice of bodhisattvas. And thinking too, I used to study some in the Geluga, the Gelupa tradition, and they would talk about I think it was Tsongkhapa's text, the three principal aspects of the path of the renunciation and bodhicitta, and the wisdom realizing emptiness, I believe. And I know for me, I feel like my renunciation, like, I lack a certain strength to my renunciations. I was wondering what other people's experience are of how they try to embody this letting go of this life, and what that looks like for you all, or your experience of that, because I think it's a really important thing and something that I need to work with more.
Matt, what's your question? What's like the direct question?
How people relate to or work with the giving up the attachment to this life, or letting go of this life. Some of these other ways they put in or just renunciation in general, something like that.
Okay. So you want to know like how we feel about that within our own skin, like our journey?
Yeah, it's not a super direct question, I guess, but yeah, just how people make sense of that in their own life, or try to live that out, or how they relate to that teaching, or something like that.
For me, it's been a process of evolving, like that's actively evolving. It's a really deep question, I think, what you're asking, and requires probably more thought than just this. But what I'll share with at least my journey right now is it's actively unfolding for me. And what it looks like is, in a tangible way, is I just start my day each day now. I think I was telling Lance this on Thursday. I write down every morning the things I'm going to do with intentionality for the benefit of all sentient beings. And I write it down that way. I'm like, with this body that I've been granted, that this is all I know I have, and the blessing of, I have a good job, I have good social skills, and people have a tendency to lean in towards me in good ways. What am I going to do with that? Like, so like the good actions, the recitation of King of Aspirations, like really embodying that in tangible ways that are practical. That's how I start my day now. I literally so I'll give you an example. Yesterday it was spend time with my mom, drop off fall flowers to elderly people, and then send money to a friend in India who is having trouble buying groceries. So I sent her $75. So those are just three very concrete ways. And I do that every single morning because I see my body as a vehicle to do good, to do nothing but good. So I try to identify different ways That's how I've started to do it. And I don't know if that gets into really what you're asking, but that helps me just see myself as blessed, grateful, but also realize that I have these resources I need to be sharing through actions and in different ways that allow me to see myself as a spiritual being, not to disassociate and say I'm not Zara. I am Zara. How is Zara is renting space in the body that I've been granted. So is that helpful or useful? I'm happy to also send you images of my journal to show you how I write it out, if that helps you.
No, what you're saying is super helpful. I might try to actually do something similar. I like that a lot. For you, that's tied in some way to renouncing this life, or what that means to you?
It helps me sort of see myself as, like, I don't want to say renting this body, but like seeing this as like, I'm able to see like, I should be very intentional every day inside the body, inside my life. It's not that I'm letting go of the fact, renouncing it, but just the ego attached to Zara needing things as Zara, as the ego Zara, versus Zara as spiritual, blessed, and grateful. So I think for me, the separation would be like, I call it ego death, but letting go of that part of me, renouncing that part of me, and then just focusing on. And like, I've been having some trouble in my, just like this up and down of my personal life with some things that are very ego driven. However, in doing the practice I just described, Matt, like it's helped me sort of renounce. And I shared with this privately with Lance on Thursday, where I'm now at a deeper level of peace and true joy and being alone. Like I'm not afraid to be alone anymore, if that makes sense. Like the idea you have to have a partner, you have to have a boyfriend or a spouse, like all of that sort of has started to naturally resolve organically as I've shifted my focus on starting each day and joy towards bringing joy towards others.
Very cool. Thanks. That's awesome.
Gary, I know you have insight.
Don't hold out on us, Gary. Come on.
Well, as it happens, I was sharing with Lance some of my angst about what I was seeing in the world, and basically Lance told me to get over myself prior to the class. In other words, we need to be conscious of our own being and how we behave. We cannot. While we can't be indifferent to the suffering of the world, we can't let that suffer. We can't absorb that suffering into ourselves to the point where we're not free, where we are grasping at it and clinging to it. And many of us, if not all of us, in this country have been raised in an era of problem solving. So if you see injustice, you're supposed to solve it. But that's really not possible. And what we learn here in our practice is that while we can't be indifferent to the storm of life around us, we can't stop being who we need to be. We can't not stop seeking our own consciousness and our own peace, you know. If we find peace within ourselves and freedom within ourselves, then that is as much as we can do. It's not that we can't take some actions in the world to be altruistic, but we will always see some pretty bad things happening. We will always see samsara. We'll always see suffering. And you know, the only thing we can be is really ourselves. And if we find freedom within ourselves, then that sort of consciousness, then we've done the most important thing that we can do.
Very cool. Thanks, Gary.
Well, I'd like to say something.
Please.
And, I'm at the last stages of my life in terms of, I'm 77 years old and, something can happen anytime. So, attachment to this life is getting less and less. I'm conscious of it more and more. And I think of things in terms of if I were to pass now, how would I feel complete? Would I be satisfied? Would I be anxious? All these different things. What if I was told I've got 5 minutes to live? What if I told I was got 5 days or 5 months or 5 years? How would I react to any of those things? This my attachment to this life. So at this stage of my life, it's become much more real, you know, tangible that that's going to happen than at any other time in my life because, you tend to think you're going to live forever, that, you're permanent and all that kind of stuff, but so, I think about it that way, and I think of this life as a temporary thing. I've always thought of this life as a means to an end. To put it in coarse terms, that that this life is a life of experience, and that there's a sort of a graduation from this life. That there's a point at which we no longer have an attachment, have a need to come back, and whatever is beyond that, we're preparing ourselves for. Until that time, we may keep coming back because there are certain lessons, certain experiences that need to be able to be experienced in order to be able to liberate from it. So I look at it really in those kind of simple terms like that, and it helps me to be free. I have a sense of freedom, and whatever remains of my attachment, are some emotional attachment, some fear or something like that. I try and work on through these different practices and prayers. And I look, I hope that in when my life ends, I don't even recognize it. I don't even see it as the end of my life. That my mind is totally absorbed. The heart mind and the intellectual mind are totally absorbed and formless, and so that the body becomes totally immaterial.
That's really beautiful. Thanks, Lance.
So these prayers, practices, these teachings have what enabled me to get to this point of thought, of acceptance or whatever.
Earlier in your life, or earlier in your spiritual journey, maybe, and I know from what you've talked about in the past, you were drawn to this type of thing from, pretty young, from what I remember you saying. How did you relate to this at those times in your life? In a similar way, into the giving up of this life, or the renunciation, these teachings, like kind of earlier on your path when you were, a young guy?
I really didn't think about it, because, I was, consumed with the idea that we're invincible, so I wasn't even thinking about that. But, as we probably all do, I remember the first time I heard of someone my age dying, a kid that I knew dying on a bicycle accident.
Yeah.
And we had this temporary nature, and that we were subject to that, and how how it made me feel. There was another kid that I knew a few years later who fell through a sliding glass door and was literally impaled on the glass door until he bled to death, and I got a sliding glass door in my shower, and with my back problem, my legs are weak, and I'm conscious of being in the shower and thinking to myself, well, if I fall, am I going to fall against this glass, and is it going to shatter, and what's going to happen? So it's, it's I don't know, you try and protect yourself, but at the same time, the inevitability of our death is something that we prepare for.
Yeah.
So the meaning of this life becomes very important, and we hear that throughout, these prayers, is what is the meaning of life, the mindfulness of the meaning of what we're doing. What if there's a nuclear bomb or something like that? I mean, we all live in the proximity of Washington, which is a prime place to go. They say, I've heard it expressed that there'll be a snap. We'll hear a snap, and we won't hear the boom after the snap. We'll be just vaporized. So, what do you think?
I guess for me, I think of it, or how I relate to it, or something like that. I guess maybe in the more the sense of how Zara was talking about it, but I feel like, I guess to me, how it seemed more recently is kind of like at a certain point needing to. I've talked about a similar kind of idea many times, but like needing to give up on the project of Matthew, almost, or of the pursuit that I'm going to be able to make this all work out in the ego sense of things, and giving that up to live more of this kind of not detached in a not engaged or loving way, but from these pursuits of my ego. And I kind of think about it more like that, and almost I think it'll take me a kind of mourning process, almost similar to like when I many years ago stopped using substances, stopped using drugs, and I had a period where, I don't need to go through the whole story of it, but where there was a kind of mourning to it too, of like giving up on a certain aspect of my life and the way certain relationships were, and having to renounce it in a way that brought a certain kind of pain to it too, of a losing of something that was causing me suffering, but that was important to me on some level. I don't know, something like that. I guess that's how I'm thinking about it. But I mean, my main point for bringing it up is realizing how much of what holds me back is my renunciation is still weak, which is a problem that I need to figure out, continue to work
Hey,
on.
Matt, have you ever heard the expression tears of joy?
Yes.
I never understood that. That seemed like this weird thing. And then experientially in the last few months, that's what happened for me when I renounced needing to be a mom. There was this thing about me needing to be a mother, like give birth. And I started crying one night when I realized that was my ego. And it was joyful because I had let go of it, so it no longer caused me mental suffering. And then I was like, Oh my goodness. I think this is what people mean when they say tears of joy. Like it's like you finally have some resolve with something, and I made peace with, and now I'm like, I'm so blessed. I have these nieces and nephews, and there's so much more that I was like creating and suffering over, like this idea of Zara has to be a mom because everyone's like, oh, you're such a good mom. You're so good with your nieces and nephews. Like I was missing something by not creating an extension of myself. And I'm listening to you and I'm wondering, do you have something like that that's really clear that you may not want to share openly, but is it something like that where you have something about your identity that you're trying to release yourself from?
Oh man, I mean, that could be a longer conversation than we have time for in here. But I guess the on a basic level, just the probably just the fear of the immediate, the pain of the immediate downside of my my attachments, or kind of not coming to fruition of, you know, doing something and disappointing people or failing at something where it's like, you know, I mean, it's a feedback loop in and of itself, because the attachment is what makes those things painful. So it's, you know, it's being stuck in that loop. But yeah, I guess it's the fear or of these things not working out, and the pain that that always causes, which is that feedback loop, and maybe samsara on some level, where then it's like, well, then I have to do the things to make this thing happen, and sometimes it works, but it can't work in the end because it's based on a an unstable ground. I don't know if that even makes sense, but without getting too much into it, something like that.
Thank you for sharing. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I feel like for each of us, it's something like we have something that, like something we're attached to. And then like once we let go of that, once I let go of what I just described to you, I have great joy now. And I understood tears of joy and understood how that is. And that's only something you can experience when you let go of that. And so if you're going through that privately with something more tangible, just trust the process, like keep exploring, keep pushing yourself. Because man, I held on to that for years, the one I just described to you, especially post my divorce. And that one was a hard one. And once I let go of that, Matt, I'm so much happier. Like my joy, like when I say happy, that's relative, but that one was hard for me. And once I let go of that, um, I'm so happy to focus on the well-being of other people's kids, my nieces, you know, everyone, like every child I come into contact with. So I hope that you can find a peaceful process to continue exploring that.
Matt, I think that it might help if you take a look. It certainly helped me, and in fact, I think I shared it with a group sometime in the past. The great poet John Lennon wrote a song called "Watching the Wheels," and it's about letting go. In a way, if you have the time and the inclination, find it and read it. It's about letting go. You can't relive your life. You know, I was the age you are now when you were born, and I wish that I had found a group like this and a teacher like this that I was willing to listen to. The willingness to listen is key. A long time ago. But it's about letting go. It's about not watching the wheels and understanding their control over your life. And I don't know if that, of course, that is he is a poet of my generation. I don't know if it'll have the same meaning for you as it had for me. But let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Gary. Yeah, and to Zara's point of, I think it is worth me reflecting on what exactly are the things that I truly can't feel like I can't let go to. But we can move on. I'm sorry, I don't want to monopolize everyone's time too, and I appreciate definitely meaningful to me the discussion about it.
Well, as Lenin said, there's no problem, only solutions.
Yeah, and I just like to say that what you're going through, what you're thinking about, is completely natural, completely normal, and it's a good thing that you're able to articulate the question, and through your continued attention to the Dharma is a method. It's not the only method, but it is one of the great methods to be able to help you through that, to navigate through your life, and that's what spirituality is. And it's in some way it's a gift that human beings have given themselves to be able to complete themselves as human beings, to see a higher meaning than just the physical meaning, the intellectual meaning, but that there's a spiritual meaning. And then through the experience of meditating, having that meditative experience where you transcend the physical and the intellectual, you validate the spiritual. So you're at a good place at a good time. So what might be helpful in practice now, I like to do a practice, is the purification practice that is in our books. So we don't have a lot of time. We got about a half an hour, but we can get a sense of this, and maybe this is a practice that you do by yourself because it's easy to do, and the more that you do it, the more result you'll have, the more positive result you'll have to it. So it's important to first be able to sit in the proper posture. And the most important part of that is keeping your back straight. So whether you're on a chair or you're on a cushion, if you can be on a cushion, really is better. You're more relaxed and natural, and so on. Your body can relax. Your legs crossed. If you're sitting on a chair, you can cross your ankles. If you prefer, you can have both feet flat on the floor, whatever works. So the 7-point posture. I'm not going to waste time talking about that. So now we close our eyes is the most helpful thing, and we visualize a white Om at our forehead. So you can use the English letters of the Om, or you can look at page 23 in our prayer book, and you can see the white Om as it appears in the Tibetan. And you can visualize that there. And then there's a red Ah at the throat, AH, or the Tibetan, or the blue Hung at the heart. So visualize the white Om at your forehead, a red Ah at your throat, and a blue Hung at your heart, and recite the mantra Om Ah Hung. So with each of these instructions, we'll use this mantra Om Ah Hung. There is a melody, and we'll use the melody, but we can also mix it in with a straight chant. So you'll hear the difference, and either is very effective. So now we begin. It says, at the first mala round is recited, a white fire emanates from the white Om at the forehead and burns away all the physical obscurations, all the sicknesses, negative karma, and bodily obscurations, the blockages, are consumed by the wisdom fire of the Om. So during this time that we're reciting this, if you need to read this again quietly to yourself as you're reciting, it's perfectly fine. But concentrate on the white Om The white fire coming from the Om at the forehead, burning away all the negativities, confusions, etc. of the body. Om Ahom, 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 Om Ahom. Om Ahom, 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 Om Ahom. Om Ahom, 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 Om Ahom. Om Ahom, 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 Om Ahom. Om Ahom, 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 Om Ahom. Om Ahom, 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 Om 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 Keeping your eyes closed. During the recitation of the next mala round, a red fire emanates from the red ah at the throat, burning away all the obscurations and all the negative karma that were made through speech. All the blockages, all the negativity, all the confusion of our speech being burned away by the red fire from the red ah at the throat. Om Ahom, Om Ahom, Om Ahom, Om Ahom, Om Ahom, Om Ahom, Om Om Ahom, 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 Om Ahom. Om Ahom, 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 Om Take a deep breath and hold it. Exhale. Hold the breath. Keep your eyes closed. Breathe again naturally. Now, during the third Mala round, a blue fire emerges from the blue hung at the heart center and envelops the entire body. All the negative karma and obscurations of the mind are consumed and burned away. Visualizing this single blue flame emanating from the heart center and engulfing the whole body in this single blue flame, burning away all the negative karma and all the obscurations, all the blockages that are caused by our mind, our little mind, purifying the way for our big mind to be able to stabilize. Om Ahom, 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 Om Ahom. Om Ahom, 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 Om Ahom. Om Ahom, Om Ahom, Om Ahom, Hum, Om Hum, Om Hum. Om Hum, Om Hum, Om Hum, Om Hum, Om Hum, Om Hum, Om Uma, 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 Take a deep breath and hold it. Exhale and hold it. Keep your back straight. Breathe normal. Keep your eyes closed. Now, during the fourth mile around, the three colored lights emanate from the three syllables, the Om, Ah, Hum, and radiate in all directions, fully purifying the outer universe and freeing all sentient beings from suffering and its causes. So the white Om, the red Ah, the blue Hum, radiating in all directions, removing the obstacles, burning away the confusions of all sentient beings throughout all that we know as the universe. Om Ahum, 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 Om Ahum. Om Ahum, 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 Om Ahum. Om Ahum, 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 Om Ahum. Om Ahum, Om Ahum, Om Ahum, Om Ahum, Om Ahum. Om Ma Hong, 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 Om Ma Hong Now the dissolution. After this last recitation, we visualize the white Om at the forehead dissolving into the red Ah at the throat. And we visualize the red Ah at the throat dissolving into the blue Hung at the heart center. And the blue Hung dissolving, disappearing slowly from the bottom up. From the Shabku at the bottom into the Ha syllable, to the roof of the Ha syllable, to the crescent moon, to the sun Bindu, and to the knot of flame at the top. And the knot of flame becoming invisible, dissolving, disappearing into the emptiness. And then just relax the mind without any investigation and discrimination, and be aware. Catch a glimpse into the nature of the mind and meditate in that state. Om Ahom, 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 Om Ahom. Visualize the dissolution. 5-minute dissolution meditation. Take a deep breath and hold it. Exhale. Hold it. Open your eyes. Breathe normal. And that completes the practice. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
I really love that practice.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Do you ever do it by yourself?
No, if I'm doing purification practice, maybe do like a Vajrasattva type thing or something. But this is really, I mean, I've seen it in the back of the book several times, but I never actually really practiced it. I might
Yeah,
start.
try it by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll recite the short Dekorma prayer on page 20 as our dedication. The word Dekorma means dedication. By the virtues collected in the three times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate word of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Trikumpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. Om, Ah, Hom. Om, Ah, Hom. Om, Ah, Hom. May my body, speech, and mind become inseparable with the body, speech, and mind of all the enlightened ones for the benefit of all sentient beings. Thank you all. So I just want to call your attention to the second stanza where it says, may the teachings of the great Trikumpa Ratna Shri. That's referring to Lord Jigdan Sumgun, who is the founder of our lineage. In addition to him, there are many, 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 many other masters of other lineages, Tibetan lineages, other Buddhist lineages, many other traditions, Christian, Jesus, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu. There's many other traditions that have masters like this. So when we say the teachings of the great Trikumpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, master of interdependence, we can be thinking about so many other masters as well. Okay, well, thank you very much. I hope it was a good session for you. I hope the people watching on YouTube are enjoying this. And once again, we're always inviting you to join us in our sessions. You can email us for instructions how to join. And if you need any of the textbooks, we can email them to you or even mail them to you, ship them to you if you let us know. So we're happy that you join us. Thank you very much. And thank you to you all today.
Thank you, Lance.
You're welcome.